So this KvK has been relatively quiet for me as far as the YouTube scene. I pretty much have hunkered down because there wasn't much going on in KvK because of the ally system, which I explained in an earlier video where I was complaining a lot, but we ended up actually having a really exciting Kingsland fight that lasted about 3 days. And yes, it was against our allies. So no, it wasn't a civil war. It was more of a gentleman's agreement with 1892, which is our allies that we did fight in this KvK, who are now sharing Kingsland with us. But that being said, it definitely was taxing on the account. And yeah, I got about 2 billion kill points. But without spoiling too much, let's go into how the fight evolved, how I actually thought we were going to lose, but we ended up scraping it back, and why didn't stream any of it. So anyway, let's dive into it. Okay, so I just want to start this video off with a quick disclaimer by saying that I am not in the diplomacy group chats or channels or Discord servers, whatever, that my leadership was involved in. Everything that I got from this KvK was secondhand information, and really this video isn't going to go over the behind the scenes too much. It's more about going to go over the story of the actual Kingsland and what led to that. So if you are interested in seeing who we were matched up against and honestly just listen to me complain for about 15 minutes about the matchup, well, I have a card linked right above me that will take you to that video. But basically, long story short, we got matched with basically kingdoms that had absolutely no chance against us. All of our camps were stronger than even their strongest camps, so it was pretty much just a steamroll the whole time. They didn't even build into some zones. We had a few ruins fights here, but they didn't even contest us when we did a zone invasion, besides, like, you know, the occasional guy that came out and tried to fight. So long story short, again, I guess another long story short, is we had an agreement that came from the diplomacy chats, whatever went on behind the scenes, that said that this star would be decided by data. Well, turns out that when you get to the end of the KvK, and nobody's had any fights at all, it gets a little confusing and a little irritating when you think about who's going to get the star. Now, the only kingdoms that got any sort of a fight at all were our allies in the bottom left here, because they did actually get at least like a 8-hour zone invasion, so, or I guess pass fight. So naturally, I think that they had the most amount of DKP. So rolling into the Zig and rolling into Kingsland, it was the discussion between 1892, 1981, and then we had 37 and 587. And basically 37 said, hey, like, look, guys, we got the star. We know we have the data. But at the same time, 92 wasn't sharing their data. And from what I've heard, our allies in the bottom left did all their data by hand, manually. And if you've ever done data before, you know that doing data by hand is probably the most time-consuming thing you could ever possibly do, and B, not entirely accurate. So 1981, staying mostly neutral in this game, basically received messages from 92 that, hey, we're not going to accept this agreement. And so naturally, 81, kind of playing this mastermind middle role, was like, hey, look, we're not going to get into it. We support the data. If you are going to say that it is not going to work for you, well, then we can come to an agreement and try to change terms. So basically what happened is our campmates in the back left or bottom left pretty much understood that if they continue to go forward with this strong stance that we are taking the star, that 92 would end up attacking them, and then we would have a civil war in KvK, or I guess in Kingsland, and essentially they would get stomped unless we intervened, and now it's a 2v1, and we didn't want that either, so that's just out of the question. So what ended up happening is 92 basically told them that, hey, we're going to fight, but we want to fight 81, and we will 1v1 for you for the star, and you get as many autarchs as you want. Okay? So they said that they were going to be okay with taking 50 autarchs for their fighters. So win or lose, they get 50 autarchs, and it doesn't really matter, but one of us will get the star. And this gets into the actual Kingsland fight and the Kingsland opening. So 81 agreed to the 1v1, and ooh, I don't really think 81 knew what they got themselves into. So naturally, we started here. This LX fort was not built, and this K91 fort was not built. 92 had dropped this fort before the agreement was even made that we were going to be fighting them. So naturally, that was a little suspicious, but they were set up and positioned better than we were. So we started down this path with LB. We got to about here in our uptime, and we were pretty much dominating for the entirety of our uptime, but as 92 is a mostly Asian kingdom, they started coming online about the time that we started going to bed, and I have never seen a kingdom get crushed as hard as we got crushed for like 4 hours. So I'm gonna pull something up on screen now, and this was basically the state of the map that was going into our downtime. I mean, we were pushed so far back, and why were we pushed so far back? So we were getting our flags cut. The truth is that we were only building with one shell or one alliance, and that alliance was stretched incredibly thin on storehouse. Like, we couldn't even play aggressive, we couldn't backflag, we couldn't do anything. It was a rough situation, and they were sitting there backflagging in the downtime, which is great. That's what you're supposed to do, but generally we just couldn't. So we woke up this morning, or that morning, I suppose, and we basically had like a big rallying cry, and we're like, hey guys, like, we we gotta get going. And so you can look up above. This was the very tentative plan that we just said, all right, we're just gonna follow this. So I kind of had morphed myself at this point into a battle leader, into a war leader, and I was now involved in building flags and creating the plan, just because, you know, when you're in that zone and you're the person online, like, there's always somebody step up, right? So we basically, and I mean, you can see, like, in this map, like, look how little territory we had. We finally got our forts down, and we started building south. So we ended up cutting this line in their downtime. We cut all the way down with LX. 92 ended up building back to the Zig once we cut them, and then LB was able to push a little bit of room out to the right. And by the end of that, we were actually looking fairly nice, and this is the screenshot that you see on your screen now. This is a screenshot near, I wouldn't say near the end, but after that cut was successful, and we were then basically continuing to push them. That itself was draining, super draining on my account. I think I averaged about 3 hours of sleep a night for those 3 days, and I even took off that Monday to make sure that I was online. And eventually they ended up calling it quits. We get Nautark, we get the star, and I know it was fun. All the respect to 92. I really did not think we were going to be that close to losing. Our morale was pretty down, so I'm glad that the longevity of 81 kind of pursued and persevered, because it would have been a tough loss, I think. And obviously, you know, it's not an excuse, but a lot of us didn't buy tech this KvK naturally because of the easiness of what came before it. So anyway, that was our KvK. Now we are here. They're in Kingsland with us. I'm still barb chaining. I will have, you know, some stats. Oh, look, he just passed me. Of course, classic. Oh wait, no, he didn't. I'm reading that wrong. But I will basically come out with another video talking about the stats recap. Once the, what's it called? Season in review. Where do I even see those things? I'll figure it out later. But the season in review, where you'll see my kills, the kingdom skills, all that good stuff, and then I'll go over individual commanders and what performed the best for me this KvK and what I use the most. Because ironically, this guy, or not ironically, but unironically, this guy's an absolute monster. He's an all-star. Probably, I mean, not probably, he is the best open field commander in the game. And it was great. So I'll go over all that stuff in a future video. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the behind the scenes of how we ended up fighting our allies in Kingsland. And I feel like I do have to add in why I didn't stream it. And all due respect to everyone in the kingdom, leaders and everyone involved. I feel like I don't want to come off as disrespectful to anyone. It's just it's late, and all the kingdoms in here. I mean, it would have honestly been great to fight alongside you guys if we ever actually did, or if we meet along somewhere along the path in the future. It would be a ton of fun. But that being said, the reason why I didn't stream it. And I'm not saying that I had some super huge role in this KvK. That's not what I'm saying. But basically, how it turned up is I was constantly in the voice chat of where the leaders were, and I was weighing in on decisions, and I was listening to build plans and flag plans, and basically, if I were to stream that, even if it was on an hour delay, okay, it just would have been too detrimental to our actual kingdom, and it just would not have worked out well for us. Now, is there a chance that not one of them could have seen it and it would have been a lot of fun? Yes. Is it an excuse for me not recording any footage at all? Absolutely not. But, you know, when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, the last thing you want to do is A, throw on a stream, or B, start recording something and have your camera on. All right. Like sometimes I'm there to focus, I'm there to play. And the truth is that I'll put my kingdom over my YouTube channel any day. It's not, you know, it's not that I'm putting them over you guys, my viewers, obviously. Love you guys. But the truth is, like, for me, like, I would rather my kingdom succeed than me get a few donations out of it, right? So, anyway, that's why I didn't stream as much as I wish I could have, if that makes sense. And so, for real this time, peace out.